So it's pretty much about that time of year where file management and moving things onto hard drives and kind of gearing up for the following year is pretty much in full swing. It's January 1st, 2024, and 24 is a go. 2023 as a year for Lowell Productions was pretty solid. If I have to be honest, as far as achievements and things of that nature, I achieved a few of my goals. As far as financials and making more money, unfortunately, I think I made maybe $2,000 more in 2023 than I did in 2022. Now, that being said, there's a couple of little bits and pieces that changed in regards to my work strategy, some of the clients that I was working with. An elephant in the room in 2022, one thing that I had happen is I got some really mega projects at the very end of the year that were just kind of a one-time thing that unfortunately didn't carry over into 2023. So that's a little bit of disclaimer on why I'm not really bummed out in regards to not making more money in 2023 than I did in 2022. As I mentioned, I did make a little bit more, but not enough for me to get really pumped about. But the positive thing is that the proof of concept was repeated 2 years in a row, which I think sometimes some of us need to kind of, when you're kind of down in the dumps in regards to are you going up and up, sometimes years when you just keep it steady, I think we need to kind of give ourselves a pat on the back in regards to being able to achieve that. Because the one thing that's absolutely nerve-wracking as a business owner myself is just this. Now, of course, throughout the year, it's always like that. But at the end of the year, when I get to put things down on a piece of paper and kind of look at the final numbers and how many projects I did and things of that nature, seeing the ability to repeat the same success 2 years in a row, to me, oof, that's a big relief. Now, type of work that I do, if some of you have been watching the channel a while, you're familiar with it, but for those that never have, I do a lot of event videography, photography, recap videos, things of that nature. That's where I found in 2022 and in 2023 led to more consistent work, whether it be K9 Social in Jacksonville, Florida has me out every year now. I will be going on my 3rd year of their annual Wolfstock event, which is, imagine just a free to the public, pets allowed event that is in a massive brewery. They've got like tons of people that are allowed to come. They have bands playing all day long, and I'm out there just kind of documenting. And then at night it gets pretty wild because they kind of kick out the animals. More of the younger crowd gets in there, and it's just a blast. Good concerts, good music, and they have me out every year to document that. And the added bonus of this year is that I stumbled into the R Team guys, Nico and Chris. Shout out over to R Team. Did some free work for them, showcased some of my work, and then it led to more discussions. And the way I was able to do that is I was contracted with K9 Social and Daniel over there to do a recap event and some photography. And I also mentioned to the art team guys, well, hey, if I'm going to be doing that for Daniel, you mind if I do that for you guys? So we did a couple of little videos for them as well. And that just led to the conversation later in the year where I hit it off with those guys, and we'll talk about some of the projects that ended up coming out of that. Now, another project that was absolutely awesome, and I've got to, it is what it is, but my parents own a motorcycle shop in Tallahassee, Florida, and Polaris is a actual line that they sell. And Polaris this year released their all-electric UTV, which just is basically a four-wheeler, a side-by-side. You guys are probably seeing some of the footage right now, but they had me out to do some content for them in regards to, it was their first model, and they wanted to be able to showcase it to their kind of network. And honestly, I'm pretty proud of this, but it led to a sale of a unit. So my parents are super pumped, made a little bit of money, made them happy. It was a win-win. This was also a project where Panasonic sent me their new Lumix S5iiX, and that was the first time I had ever used it, which we're currently using right now. Another project would be, and I already mentioned it, was the Lumix collaboration. They launched the new Lumix S5 II plus the S5 IIX. I've been a long time Lumix shooter. Shout out GH4, shout out GH5 over here, my Lumix S5, which unfortunately RIP kicked the bucket this year. I can't bring it back to life. And then we've got the Lumix S5iiX. Another project that's a little bit different, and I'm listing off all of these to you guys to just show you. I know a lot of people talk online of like, you need to really get into your niche. You need to find your niche. What I have come to find is I've had to offer my services to a bunch of different types of clients and spaces and niches just to basically put food on the table. And I found over the past, we're moving into year 4 this year of Lowell Productions, is that niches are starting to present themselves. So I kind of took the approach of anything and everything, and slowly over these past 3 years, I've kind of little like bright spots have shown where I need to lean in more, and events has been one of them. Obviously the retainer stuff, but I just give a small disclaimer of that because a big project that came in the pipeline this year is I do kind of these 30 to 60 second TV / campaign ads for different groups, and those came in heavy this year, doing a title insurance ad, also doing a structured finance ad. Good money, very particular, very corporate looking, but I have to admit, these, when they come in, they're very nice on the pocket. And it's just something that when I was up in DC years ago, I met some contacts, and every once in a while they come out of the woodwork and they call upon me. And when they do, it's really awesome. Not something that I really showcase too much, but I wanted to at least tell you guys on the channel. That's where I also am able to pick up a little bit of extra cash when those come in. Now, I did do some free work in regards to getting that retainer that I mentioned earlier. What the Health Just Happened. It's a podcast my buddy had been doing almost for a full year, and when I moved back to Jacksonville, I had just messaged him. I had been kind of following him on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I was like, hey, Eric, you got to have me out to film, man. Just let me have you out. And he just constantly was like, would love to, but we can't afford it. I just basically said, look, let me just show up. Let me show you what it's all about. And I needed to be able to display to him and his business model and his kind of coworkers at 212 Benefits, shout out guys. I needed to be able to show the value in the video side of things. So I showed up. Honestly, I think I filmed for Eric and What the Health Happened for a good 2 months, to the point where my wife was like, you gotta figure out how to get paid. You gotta figure out how to get paid. And eventually it led to the conversation of, hey, I had presented what I would like to get paid probably about a month in, and it was definitely a little bit more than I think they were asking. And so at basically month 2, when Eric was like, we got to get you paid, I was like, how about this? Let's meet in the middle. And sure enough, they said yes. And that led to the past 6 months of that retainer, and we're moving into 2024. That retainer is still going. There'll probably be a little bit of renegotiating, but they've also had me do some other projects you guys are seeing that were super fun and allowed for me to make some extra money with them as well. We've done a couple of ads with them. We've had some fun. We've been shooting the podcast, which has led also into Eric introducing me to other, business owners and people that work for nonprofits. And knock on wood, this has just been great. But for 2024, I've already locked in 3 projects in the first 2 months with clients that I met through Eric. So shout out 212 Benefits, Eric. It was one of those things. I put in a little bit time on the front end. Maybe it was silly in some people's books, the driving, the filming, the editing for no money. But it's one of those things where I think if you go all in and you're passionate about working with that client and they see it and they can see the value, that you could pretty much replicate what I ended up doing with Eric and 212 Benefits and creating a situation where you might have a retainer client. Small disclaimer, do not neglect LinkedIn in 2024. LinkedIn was never a part of my business model up until the last 6 months of this year. I cannot tell you how many new relationships I have through it, how many potential clients I can already see, and it's just something that, guys, Instagram's great, Facebook's great, YouTube's great, but true business people, if that's who you're looking for, LinkedIn is going to be where you're going to find them, and hopefully they end up finding you as well, because I think our services and what we're kind of leaning into in 2024, whether it be photo and video, social content, it is just something that all these business owners need, and they need it done well. Most likely you're the person in your area to do it for them.